Baseball. What would happen in the world without baseball? Let's just be plain out honest right now. I think baseball is America's sport. Some people might argue that and say soccer is, but honestly, people can say that baseball is America's sport. All right, baseball started in about 1783, late 1700s, and with a team called the New York Knickerbockers. This team was special because they were the team that the refs, however you want to call it, blues, made the rules for baseball because before that they didn't know the rules. So the Knickerbockers were kind of like the testing subject for the refs to make the rules. Like they didn't know what a home run was, so right when someone hit it out, they're like, "All right, we have to call it that." And like a double or anything, they didn't know what to call that and how to play. So the Knickerbockers was kind of like the test dummies, as I would say, for Major League Baseball. Starting out, there was only one league called the American League, which consisted of mostly, not meant the National League, and National League is mostly like East Coast teams. So none on the West Coast was introduced to baseball until about 30 years after the New York Knickerbockers started. Once both leagues got into play, there was a thing called trading. Trading's among teams. You just if the team doesn't want to pay you enough or you want to get traded, they'll write up some waivers and you can get traded across this. Trading's a big thing in baseball because honestly, if it was me, I wouldn't want to be on just one team for my career, like 20 years, one team. No, I would want to be traded. Also, having another league, starting out, the American League, there would only be one championship just for those, 7 teams. Adding another league in 30 years, the National League would cause there to be like playoffs against both leagues. The best teams from each league, about three best teams, would be in the playoffs, and whoever won those games would eventually get in the World Series, and that would eventually lead to the World Series, and that would eventually lead to a winner. So that is how that all started. And the next thing, a big thing in baseball, is about, I really don't know if I talk about this, but I am. It is the Negro Association League. This started back 1840s, back in the day. And there was one guy everyone needs to know, one of the best baseball players ever. His name was Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was one of the best players that ever lived. He changed Negro baseball that eventually led him to playing with white baseball players. Jackie Robertson was the home run leader at one point, the RBI leader at one point. That means like if a guy's on third base and he hits it in, it's an RBI. So, and he had the most hits in the league. He went through so many adversities, got called names every single day, and just got over all this with just the sport and the determination that he would eventually make it into playing with white baseball players in the major league. And he did that. He forced people to start letting Negro baseball players play in the American League and the National League, and that was a big, big turning point in Major League Baseball. All right, there's one player except from Jackie Robinson that you need to know. His name is Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was one of the founders of baseball. He is the best baseball player that ever lived. He's called the Great Bambino because he held the most home runs for a long, long time, and he played for the New York Yankees. And before that, before kids knew him and looked up to him in New York, kids would be playing with like a little ball like this big, maybe a little rubber ball and a stick. And they didn't know what baseball was till he came in. He went out usually behind alleys and stores and taught them how to play baseball. Brought them real maple bats. The kids would never see maple bats before that because baseball started out with just straight sticks and rocks because no one knew how to make a cork baseball or a maple bat. And Babe Ruth just taught him how to do that, and he is one of the best baseball players to ever live because kids just looked up to him and will never forget him. But in nowadays in baseball, there's a thing called steroids. And steroids, if you get caught with those, can lead up to 162 game suspension. You can be banned for life, and you can also your team can cut you. And right now, there's an epidemic of steroids that people just keep using, think they're not gonna get caught, but honestly, it's very cheap, and people don't need to do that because it's not how baseball was. It's not the foundation of baseball. You don't need to do steroids to play. If you're good, you're good. You're going to get an offer to play baseball. It's terrible that people do that now. It's not even cool. But also, in the 1800s, this is one more important thing other than the Negro Leagues was women in baseball. Women in baseball was a big, big thing. All right, in about the 1900s, there was a women's league, and these women were actually very, very good at baseball, and they wanted to get in the men's league, but the men would not let them in. So they made their own league, and eventually that led to the first girl baseball player to get in the major league, and that was just another turning point. So nowadays, in the 21st century, a lot of rules are in baseball about Negroes are allowed to play. You cannot segregate. Girls, if they're good enough, can play. They have all the rules down from the very beginning of the baseball with the knickerbockers and everything. And simply, you can't use drugs to play baseball. It is simply just not right, and you don't need to do it. History of baseball just needs to be with everyone. Everyone needs to learn the history of baseball. And honestly, it's America's sport, so even just watching it a little, getting a little knowledge about it is very helpful for everyone.